What I wanted to talk about today for our mindfulness meditation class, if anybody, I can't remember if anyone on today joined us on Tuesday. We talked a lot about the monkey mind. Is that ringing a bell for anyone? Yes. Okay, great. Well, as you listen to this first portion, feel free to just be relaxed and whatever, and then I'll kind of cue you when we move into our actual meditation practice. But for now, I just wanted to talk a little bit about how we can improve our concentration and staying with the breath. And this can be a technique known as labeling, and we actually just did a little bit of that, just checking in with our feelings, right? Like, having something come up for you is one thing. Being able to label it and call it by its right name and just acknowledge its presence is kind of the next step. So being able to say overwhelmed, stressed, accomplished, exhausted, cooped up, that's labeling, and that's a really effective mindfulness technique. There's also a way that you can utilize that skill in terms of labeling your breath. So if the mind begins to wander as you're practicing mindfulness meditation, first of all, it's supposed to. That's what human brains are meant to do. And our ability to judge and analyze and intellectualize is what sets us apart, right? And what makes humans so amazing. But part of the goal of mindfulness meditation is to, even for a brief moment, be able to just turn those off and be really present with yourself in this moment and be not judging, not analyzing, not intellectualizing what's happening, either inside yourself or outside of yourself. But what typically might happen is we sit down to meditate, we find our tall, comfortable seat, we're in our little nook or corner or wherever we've made in terms of our meditation space, we settle in, we come to the breath, and then immediately the mind goes, right? Something that happened today, something you're planning on happening tomorrow, something someone said to you that didn't feel good, or something you're really excited about. Part of our mindfulness practice is we catch our brain when that happens and we bring it back to the here and now. And I think last week we talked about how every single time you notice that you're thinking and you return to the present, that's mindfulness. And it's like a push-up for your brain. Data tells us that you're changing your neural pathways when you do this. You're actually changing your cognition when you do this. So part of the practice is that the mind will wander, right? In Buddhism, there's something that they call the monkey mind. And I love this analogy. It's really, it's in the sense that the mind is always jumping around from branch to branch, from tree to tree, doesn't want to slow down. It's hard to pin down. You don't see it resting very often, the mind, right? When you're not sleeping. And even when you're sleeping, sometimes, have you guys ever had that feeling where you wake up exhausted? I definitely have that often, and it feels like my mind wasn't even resting while my body was. So in meditation, what we want to do is learn how to work with the monkey mind. Instead of trying to force the monkey to stay put and not jump around, we can actually give that monkey something to do. This technique of labeling or using a short mantra or a short phrase that we repeat in our mind is one way to give that monkey something to focus on, something to do. I had a teacher once that was like, give the monkey a banana. I don't know if that works for you. There's lots of other ways to think about it. So what this is going to look like is as you breathe in, you can just say quietly in your mind, rising, or inhale, or any other short phrase that signals the breath to you. If you notice your chest and belly rising, rising is great, and then falling as you exhale. Or maybe it's inhale, exhale. Or one that I really love and use all the time is just here, now. if I'm having a particularly challenging day, another one that I return to often is simply yes, thanks, right? Knowing that everything that's frustrating me in my day is ultimately helping me to grow in some way or another. So practicing that acceptance. So any mantra that calls to you, that feels doable, it doesn't need to be anything fancy, that you can match to your breathing, is going to help give that monkey mind something to occupy it. So it's not jumping from tree to tree, wandering all over the place. So when we do this labeling of the breath to improve our concentration, we want to make sure that most of our attention is still on the actual physical sensations of the breath. Some Zen masters might say about 90% of your attention should be feeling the breath in the body, and about 10% of your attention being on the words rising, falling, here, now. Yes, thanks, whatever you choose. We want to do this because if all your attention is on your words, it's still really an ultimately conceptual exercise, right? We want it to be a physical thing, just helping that monkey mind to stay steady and in tune with the body. Stop me if I'm not making sense, but hopefully that makes sense to you. So in mindfulness, we really want to tap into the raw sensations that we're experiencing. And we practiced that a little bit last week, but anytime you can pull your awareness from out of your spinning intellectual wheels and down into your physical self, noticing how you're feeling, how you're breathing. We talked about other anchors, maybe smells you smell, sounds you hear, even things touching your skin, right? The feeling of your clothing on your body, the feeling of your soles of the feet touching the earth, maybe. Just feeling of air on the cheeks. Any of that can help you bring your awareness into the here and now. Using a mantra with breath is just one technique of giving the monkey mind something to do. And if it doesn't work for you today, that's awesome. Doesn't have to. That's the beauty about mindfulness, is that it's your practice. You find what works for you. But I would encourage you to practice it 2 or 3 times at least. If you've been thinking about building in a practice to your day, maybe 5 minutes in the morning or 5 minutes in the evening, practice the mantra this week and see how it goes. See if it gets easier. See if you're like, nope, not happening. Either reaction is totally valid, no judgment, right? In that note, before we begin our sit, I wanted to just read a really brief passage. This is from, I think I read from this book last week, Wherever You Go, There You Are. It's by a psychologist named Jon Kabat-Zinn. And he is actually the person who came up with mindfulness-based stress reduction, which is now practiced in medical centers, psychology clinics, mental health services all over the world. But this chapter is called No Right Way. Backpacking with my family in Teton Wilderness, I am recurrently struck by the question of footing. With each step, the foot has to come down somewhere. Climbing or descending over boulder fields, steep inclines, on and off trails, our feet make split-second decisions for us about where and how to come down, what angle, how much pressure, heel or toe, rotated or straight. My kids don't ever ask, Dad, where do I put my feet? Should I step on this rock or that one? They just do it. And I've noticed that they find a way. They choose where to put their feet at each step, and it's not simply where I put mine. What this says to me is that our feet find their own way. Watching my own, I am amazed at how many different places and ways I might put my foot down with each step, and how out of this unfolding momentary potential, the foot ultimately commits to one way, executes with full weight on it, And then let's go as the next foot makes its choice and I move forward. All this occurs virtually without thinking, except at the occasional tricky spots where thought and experience do come into play, and I might have to give my youngest child, Serena, a hand. But that is the exception and not the rule. Ordinarily, we are not looking at our feet and thinking about each step. We are looking out, ahead, on the trail, and our brain, taking it all in, makes a split-second decision for us that puts the foot down in a way that conforms to the needs of the terrain underfoot in that moment. This doesn't mean there's no wrong way to step. Yes, you do have to be careful and sense your footing. It's just that the eyes and the brain are very good at rapid assessment of terrain and giving detailed directions to torso, limbs, and feet, so that the whole process of taking a step on rough ground is one of exquisite balance and motion, even with the complication of boots and heavy packs. There's built-in mindfulness here. Rough terrain brings it out in us, and if we do a trail 10 times, we'll each solve the problem of each footstep differently each time. Covering ground on foot always unfolds out of the uniqueness of the present moment. It's no different in meditation. There is really and truly no one right way to practice, although there are pitfalls along this path too, and they have to be looked out for. It is best to encounter each moment with freshness, its potential held in awareness. We look deeply into it, and then we let go into the next moment, not holding to the last one. Each moment then can be fresh, each breath a new beginning, a new letting go, a new letting be. Just as with our stepping over rocky terrain, there is no supposed to here. True, there is much to be seen and understood along this path, but it can't be forced, any more than you can force someone to appreciate the golden light of the low sun shining over fields of wheat or the moonrise in the mountains. In the same way, in the meditation practice, it is best to hold to and honor one's own direct experience, and not to worry too much about whether this is what you're supposed to feel or see or think about. Why not trust your experience in this moment just as you would trust your foot to find a way to keep you balanced as you move over rocks? If you practice this kind of trust in the face of insecurity and the strong habit of wanting some authority to anoint your experience with his or her blessing, you will find that something of a deepening nature does happen along this path. Our feet and our breath both teach us to watch our step, to proceed mindfully, to truly be at home in every moment, wherever our feet carry us, to appreciate where we are. All right, we'll move into our practice. Go ahead and find your tall, comfortable seat. If you feel better turning off your camera for this, that's totally fine. I absolutely get it. Again, we want the sits bones to be really anchored wherever they are, allowing you to sit up nice and tall, lengthening the crown of the head up towards the ceiling or the sky. Closing down the eyes if that's comfortable, or maybe simply lowering the eyes, letting them soften and unfocus, gazing 3 or 4 feet out in front of the body. Really just letting the external world fall away for a moment and bringing your awareness inward. Take a moment to just settle into your seat, finding that nice balance between awareness and softness. You don't want to be too rigid or stiff, but at the same time, you want to be lengthening with some integrity here, sitting up, signaling to your body that it's not quite time to go to sleep. We're just turning inward and practicing mindfulness. As usual, we can start just by taking a few deep breaths to relax the body, relax the mind. So inhaling through the nose, watching the air come in past the throat, through the heart space, into the belly, and then reversing that process, slowly exhaling all the air out. Once more, inhaling deeply, exhaling slowly all the air. Inhale deeply and exhale. Allow your breath to return to its natural rhythm, just letting the body breathe itself. And then spend a few moments just inviting the body to soften and relax. Maybe doing a quick body scan, starting with the soles of the feet, seeing if there's any way they can release a little bit. Maybe finding 10 to 20% more softness in the legs, the hips, the belly, the chest. Relaxing the shoulders down away from the ears, letting the arms hang heavy. Palms can be resting on the knees or maybe folded in the lap. Check in with the jaw. If you're holding tension there, like so many of us do, maybe faking a yawn, just inviting it to open up, maybe moving the chin from side to side, creating some space there. Bringing awareness to the brow, seeing if there's any relaxing or softening that can happen there. Letting the eyes just kind of sink into the skull. And when you're ready, bringing your attention back to the breath once again. Exhaling away any anxieties, worries, to-do lists, agendas. Maybe inhaling permission to just be here now. Just being present. And that's all you have to do in this moment. Connecting wherever you feel the breath the most in your body. Just noticing the movement of the breath. Noticing how it changes over time. Maybe noticing the point in your body where you feel it the most. Maybe it's the chest rising and falling. Maybe it's the belly expanding, contracting. Or it might be just the coolness of the air as it enters in through the nose, and then how it's warmed by the time it leaves again. Here, maybe you begin to practice our labeling technique. Saying a short phrase to help you stay focused on the breath. So as you breathe in, just quietly in your mind, saying a word, maybe rising, or here, or yes. And then actually feeling the rising of the belly or the chest or the breath at the nostrils. And as you breathe out, just quietly in your mind saying falling, or now, or thanks. and feeling the falling of the belly or the chest or the out-breath of the nostrils. Breathe in your word. Breathe out your word. When your attention wanders away from the breath, when you notice, just acknowledge that the attention has wandered and gently bring your attention back without any judgment or self-criticism, just practicing total acceptance of whatever is going on. Inhales, exhales. As you repeat your words, really see if you can keep most of your awareness on the physical sensations of the breath. Just letting the words be very quiet and soft in the back of your mind. Just something to keep pointing your attention to the breath. With this noticing practice, we're just giving the monkey mind something to do, something to keep busy. And we're beginning to train it to keep bringing attention back to the present moment. Using these words or phrases to keep yourself connected. If there's anything distracting, outside sounds, a thought, an emotion, discomfort in your body, just acknowledge it and release it. And come back to labeling your inhales and your exhales. To end our meditation today, we can take a deep breath together. Exhaling softly, slowly. Maybe beginning to wiggle fingers and toes, gently waking the body back up. If you like, you can flutter the eyes open. And then just take a moment to notice how you feel. Maybe labeling once more. Maybe connecting with your breath for 1 or 2 more breaths just to seal your practice. It's great work today. That's actually, for as simple of an exercise as it is, it's really challenging and it does take a while to train your brain. Your mind will keep wandering, the monkey's going to keep acting up. But just like, house training a puppy or anything else, gentle redirection, gently bringing it back, gently showing it what you'd like it to be able to do. Over time, that'll really work. And if you really practice this, maybe 5 or 10 minutes a day for the next week, you might start to notice your little phrases coming up at other stressful moments in your life. And you might just be like, okay, I'm going to take 30 seconds here, now. And it can be a really worthwhile practice. Any questions, thoughts, concerns, reactions you'd like to share before we part? Nope. All right. Wonderful work. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. And I will see you next week, I guess. Take good care of yourselves.